What's up, guys? This is Brandon with Strict Vision Athletics here with Chris Desmarchais from Human Project Training. How you
Yes,
doing,
sir.
man?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we were saying, this is the 4th episode of the podcast, and I have for a while wanted to talk to you about this idea, and as it continues and as it progresses, we're going to make this into a 3-person, 4-person table to where we have, a guest on, a few people, and I really do want to bring you in on that from time to time.
Yeah.
Whenever we can make that happen, but it seems like we're both heading in the same direction with our education, with our goals in business, and with training, which is a good segue to, I want you, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
tell me what it is you're doing. Tell me about Human Project Training. Tell me
Yeah.
about your schooling and everything.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we didn't know each other too well. I think like our families are connected and all that, obviously, but we ended up in the pretty much exact same business concept, almost starting out, right?
Very close.
Yeah. So my kind of background is I got into training initially. I was a decent athlete in high school, but I got into training as a senior in high school by getting into CrossFit. So
Okay.
I did no lifting really previous to that, a little bit on my own, a little bit at school, but it's not super structured.
No.
I somehow found my way into a CrossFit gym and got really into that, started doing an internship, training a membership for just cleaning the gym. I would just wipe down the chalk and that sort of thing.
Which gym was it?
CrossFit Leaf Time just up the road here, right here
Okay.
in Baseline. It's actually,
Yeah.
it's called CrossFit LT now.
Okay.
New ownership. The old owner, great guy, Leaf Lake, is a fire captain.
Okay.
They used to live in Agrotopia.
Sick.
And they own that gym. Back then, let's see, that was like 2012 probably, 12, 13. It was still kind of in the stage of CrossFit where a gym, it was hit or miss. Like that one was very much so like a family kind of atmosphere. Like it wasn't super structured, like classes at 7, but some people start the workout at 7:15. Next group starts at 7:25. Like I was coaching. I kind of knew what I was doing because like I watched YouTube videos, but I didn't really know exactly.
At the time, did you have your CS?
No,
Or did that come
no,
later?
that
Okay.
was later. So at this time, I had my CrossFit level 1. That was all I had.
Gotcha.
So I just got super into, this was like the heyday, like I don't know how much you follow CrossFit, but like, Rich Froning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like his heyday, right? Like he's winning all the CrossFit games
Sure.
for this time. So I was working out at Mountainside Fitness, and I would just go on YouTube, like look at all the stuff Rich Froning was doing, just go try to do it over there. Like
That's crazy.
Yeah, I have a video on my phone that's
You ever
classic.
seen his garage gym?
Oh, well, his barn gym. Yeah.
His barn gym?
That guy just has the setup.
He's got a pretty good thing
Yeah,
going.
bison farm, the whole
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
He
So
like drags the sled behind him when he like runs around in the hills and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy.
got a lake, yeah, the whole thing. But anyway, so I think this was like, it was really through CrossFit like that a lot of the modern trends in like the whole training space kind of got started, like YouTube, like guys like Kelly Starrett putting out mobility stuff online, like, and so there was a lot of this content to kind of like get, wet your whistle on and like kind of start to, oh man, like this is interesting, go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And so I started to do that, and that just kind of stayed a passion of mine. I got really into CrossFit, and from there I started competing in CrossFit and got into Olympic weightlifting, competing in Olympic weightlifting, because I had a coach who's another guy who'd be great for this show.
Sure.
Who started training me. I started doing some of these local CrossFit competitions, and my big weakness was just strength. Like I was like 170 pounds soaking wet probably at the time.
Still
having
a
to do
senior in high
snatches
school?
and clean and jerks and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, a couple days a week, like help me out with my Olympic lifting. Like, so he started doing that. I got really into it and just fully transitioned into that. So while I went to ASU studying business, I was competing in lifting, coaching at the CrossFit gym, and then coaching in Olympic weightlifting as well at that gym and another gym. And so I didn't see training as like a career for me at that point. I was really into it, but I just thought like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So I went the business route.
Yeah.
And
that's what your degree ended up being?
That was my
business?
undergrad degree.
Okay.
Yeah, business entrepreneurship from WP Carey. So
That's very applicable. I mean,
yeah.
no matter what it is you end up doing, if you have that, it helps.
It's kind of funny doing this sort of thing. You probably agree. It's like you either could do the education route with training and you have to learn business, or you could do business education, you have to learn training. Like
yeah.
you can kind of do it either way,
That's a good point.
But That took me to Dallas for a job after graduation. Okay. And so that's why I lived there for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And from in that time period, I worked in marketing, I worked in finance, and then I kind of decided that I was going to make training my like full-time job. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see the future in that other stuff. I was in a position where I was living with my in-laws and
a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you hear the difference now that you're talking in the
yeah.
mic? Yeah, make sure just a couple inches, keep it from your face.
Yeah, living with my in-laws, and you know, they were generous enough to provide us that space. So I was in a position where I could kind of make that transition. Mm-hmm. And so I started working at a great gym in Frisco called Black Iron CrossFit, because the CrossFit route was still what I knew at the time.
Sure.
But this gym, it was owned by a former Marine. It was his sole business, and so he really ran it like a business and like a proper gym. And so I learned a lot from him as far as the gym business goes, and I was able to coach group classes as well as do personal training out of there, mm-hmm. some nutrition coaching out of there. And it was during that time that I just bought the CSCS textbook and just read through it and then took that test. So once I
got it.
Yeah, just got it.
Nice.
Because I had done all this kind of self-education, but I'm like, you know, CrossFit is kind of its own niche, and I want something that's going to be respected.
If you want to be reputable outside of CrossFit,
exactly.
You got to have something like that.
Because I knew that, you know, I had a good knowledge base outside of CrossFit, but I wanted that credential, mm-hmm. and it was very informative as well. So I did that with the plan the whole time that I was going to come back here and start some sort of fitness-based business, whether it's a small gym or working somewhere, doing that, and personal circumstances just kind of catered to me starting up really simple, low overhead out of the garage. And so that brought me back here, and that was last February that I got back. I really got started up in about April or May
of last year.
So last year.
Exactly 1 year.
Yeah, just about
1 year.
And that was like a temporary location at my parents' house first, before I moved into my.
When you moved,
Yep. So that was like July that I moved there. So.
And how big is your garage? How many?
It's just like a full-size 2-car garage, so 400 square feet.
400 square feet. Yeah. It's amazing the difference that the 3-car to the 2-car, the change that it is. When I see your place or any 2-car garage, and then I see, because I grew up when I was in Agritopia, we had the 2-car garage, and it's funny, just an extra 200 feet just makes a world of difference. It's weird.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I wonder about the beginnings of a person's career, any time in this fitness business, in any business, but especially in fitness, because it's no two people are the same. Everybody's got a different background, and everybody, started somewhere and then sort of progressed. It is funny to me that you and I have ended up, because we have very, very different origin stories, if you will.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marvel. We both end up in the same master's program, which is actually very, very cool. I'm loving it, and you and I.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what would you say? Because CrossFit is one topic that I know you know very well. I wanted to ask and kind of get into that. What would you say are what are the limitations of CrossFit now that you have, and I ask you this because you're not, well, maybe you are. Are you teaching a CrossFit style training regimen at your gym at Human Project Training?
No.
Okay. Why aren't you doing that? What limitations do you see with CrossFit, with the model of training, and what does CrossFit do right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I still get asked that a lot, but I have gotten that question many times just from clients and stuff, because they may have dabbled in it themselves, or they're
it's ultra popular. I'd say it's probably the most popular form of exercise
it's
in America.
It's easily, there's no other modality of exercise that's a household name like CrossFit is,
No. Even without road attached to it anymore.
Yeah.
You believe that?
What, did they cut ties?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Someone said something about, I don't know, someone said something about social justice warriors or something. Someone said something bad and got canceled.
Well, speaking of CrossFit, Glassman, the guy who founded CrossFit and was CEO and founder, is out.
What do you mean?
He's same deal.
Seriously?
Yeah, 6 months ago maybe. There's a new CEO.
Did they have a board of directors that fires these people? Because
I think he stepped down just due to pressure. He could be wrong, but you know how that goes.
I guess if you're the CEO of CrossFit, you've done okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, Continuing with the question.
CrossFit as a program, it has a lot of pros and definitely some, in my opinion, cons, which is the reason why I don't necessarily stick with that. So the main thing is the nature of CrossFit. You're coming to a gym, you're doing a workout of the day, right? It's a workout that's written and everybody's going to do that. So in my opinion, you would probably agree, I'm creating a workout customized for the individual that I'm training.
100%.
So I'm doing a needs analysis on what is this person's goals, what's their injury history, what kind of compensations do they present when they move, all of these sort of things are going into whatever program I'm creating for that person. So you're not getting that in a CrossFit setting. You're trying to fit, yourself to the workout instead of fitting the workout to you. So that's going to be the biggest difference. As far as some, things with the actual program, like, do I necessarily believe in like high rep Olympic weightlifting movements for most normal people? No. I've seen that butchered way too many times. 2 or 3 minute intervals of nonstop. Yeah. It's like, I obviously love the Olympic lifts. I'm happy to teach that to people if they want to learn it in my gym. I've done that.
Sure.
But I use them kind of the way that I think they're best intended to be used, as like a power exercise for lower reps.
Cardiovascular.
Yeah. You're just asking for it. And can you do it? Yeah, you can obviously do it and not get hurt. And many people have done it, but is it optimal? That's what I'm always searching for. Like, what's the best way to get this job done? Like, what's the safest and most effective way? Like, there's a risk reward thing. And so, some of the movements that people are doing, another one, like, kipping pull-ups gets it. The butterfly kips is a popular one, but you look at that and it's, okay, what am I trying to get out of a pull-up? Am I trying to get stronger in my upper body? Am I trying to put on muscle mass? Those are two primary goals for a lot of people. Doing a kipping pull-up is not accomplishing either of those.
No.
It's actually, detracting from both. Right. And putting the shoulder in a super compromised position.
Definitely. Especially when you're up at the top with your shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the way
coming
back,
down.
And it's back. And I'd say pretty decently mobile shoulders, but doing that, I could never get into that. I mean, I had a background as a kid. I did gymnastics. And I did gymnastics for like 7 years. Yeah. So we would do, it's funny, when I first saw the muscle up that everyone in CrossFit does for reps, they're like, oh, can you do a muscle up? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, this is a muscle up. And I'm like, no, that's a kip get up just to start your. It's a gymnastics startup. And seeing that one I could get my head around, but I've never been able to get my head around the butterfly pull, the pull ups, the kipping pull ups. I just see it as, if you wanted a good change up from that, would be the endless rope. If you wanted something that was going to engage your upper body and create, cardiovascular endurance, do that. Do battle ropes. Do something that isn't your entire body weighted on your shoulder joint over and over and over again. And that may be one of the biggest exercises I see done in CrossFit that I just have a patently large problem with.
Well, and so like the argument behind that movement is like increased work capacity, right? You're doing more reps. You're moving your body through the space of dead hang to chin over bar more times in a given period of time, so you're performing more work. It's like, okay, maybe compared to a strict pull-up, but again, like, what is the goal of the training program, right? Am I just trying to get work capacity? Like, okay, so something like an endless rope would be a much safer option. Am I trying to get stronger in my upper body pulling? Like a strict pull-up would be a safer option. So, it's that thought process behind a training program of really thinking it out and like, what are our goals and what's the best way to attack that? The origins of CrossFit as a program was kind of more in that it's what they would call like a GPP, strength conditioning program, so general physical preparedness, and that's why it was really popular. And still is popular with like law enforcement, military, that sort of thing. Like people
just to
who
give you
need
a baseline understanding.
A wide range of fitness, and they need to kind of be ready to tackle any physical task that presents itself at any time. Yeah. And so that's great. And that kind of gives reason to like the randomness of the program, right? Like original CrossFit was constantly varied functional movement performed at high intensities. Like there's no method to the madness, sort of. It's like
the wad of the day.
Yeah.
It is, again, it's one of the things I grind my teeth over with CrossFit. It's just, it leaves so much out on the table. It does not, aside from the fact that you have a variety of different people at different levels with different injuries, you are doing something that has absolutely no structure, no adherence to the principle of periodization, no building, no everything's just randomized.
Right.
Which, I mean, if someone were to present it to me from the argument of, like you just said, well, okay, things in life aren't repetitious. You're not going to do the same thing over and over and over again. You're going to, but okay, again, what is the goal? Is your goal to create an environment that mirrors the real world and that everything is random, or is your goal to create a program to get me stronger for the real world?
100%. Yeah.
I just don't see. I don't see that method doing that. Just randomly doing anybody. And this is where I feel like CrossFit can sometimes succeed, even I'd say under false pretenses. But anybody who is inactive, who then comes into almost any strength program, will see improvements. Unless they get hurt in the first week and just can't keep going. If they stick with anything, with any trainer, with a baseline understanding of exercise movements, they will see improvement in the beginning. And that's what so many people see when they go to a CrossFit gym. They see this immediate surge of energy and strength, and all these things are changing for them. But because there is no structure to the program, because there is no, periodizing, okay, we're working on X, Y, and Z for strength, and then, we're dealing with mobility, and we're doing, accessory movements here, and this is going to go on a 4-week cycle, and then it's going to be new, and then we're going to build even further. We're going to push. None of that. They plateau, they get hurt, they can't keep going. That's what happens. CrossFit is a 30 to 60 day amazing amusement park followed by a car accident.
It does happen sometimes. Yeah, and I would agree wholeheartedly with what you said about periodization. Mm-hmm. For the people who are listening who don't know, that's just like the planning and structuring of a workout over a long term.
Good point.
And that's what any athlete is doing in their programming, including CrossFit Games competitors.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's exactly what you said, that are you, by trying to prepare for anything that could occur in life, are you trying to make the gym mimic that exact environment, or are you trying to look at the weaknesses and strengths in your own physical game and improve those in a structured manner in the gym where you're safe and controlled and you're able to address those things? Yeah. And now when you go out and expose yourself to those unknown elements, you're ready to handle them. Mm-hmm. And so I would agree completely with that. And so, like the CrossFit Games competitors, the thing with any periodization is it's ideal when you're working off of a known timeline, right? So these guys have a competition season, and they're competitive athletes. And so they're able to structure their training year around, 12 months out, I'm going to work strength for 4 months. Then I'm going to kind of transition into my more power-based movements. And then right as I get in closer to the competitive season, I'm going to ramp up my conditioning so everything's peaking at the perfect time.
Yep.
And these what the most elite athletes are doing. They're not doing
CrossFit workouts.
Original CrossFit workouts.
Yeah, no, they're not. And that's, I feel like, again, I think CrossFit benefits from a false pretense, and that is that, people are being sold on the idea that, the guys in the games, they do these workouts. This is what they do. If I work hard enough and I keep doing this and I keep listening to my coach, maybe it's not my goal to get there, but some people it definitely is. Yeah. If I keep doing this, I'm going to get here. And that's not necessarily true, even if you have the genetic component, if you keep training in that manner. And like you said, it's funny because when I was at PEP, we had, don't ask me what her name was, I can't remember, but we had a high level games competitor, female, who was training with Ian. Yeah. And was training the way you and I train now. Was not doing, the kipping pull-ups, was doing weighted belt pull-ups, was doing, she was a beast, don't get me wrong, but she was training in a NFL style strength training program designed to build her until the games. Then for the last, 3 weeks or so, she started doing more of those kinds of workouts, and by then she, built up the muscle groups, and so many of them are injured. They got to deal with that too. Yeah. There's a whole behind the scenes side to CrossFit that I don't know that people really see.
Yeah, and kind of with the nature of how CrossFit as a business is structured, like gyms, there's a high degree of variability from gym to gym on what you're going to get. Because what you have to do is pay an affiliate fee to CrossFit, and you can call yourself a CrossFit gym. So there are some gyms that they don't put really any effort into the programming or coaching, and there's other gyms like the gym that I worked at in Frisco where there is a periodization to the program, and the coaches are excellent. And we took people through an on-ramp course where we would take 4-hour block sessions with them one-on-one to teach them the foundational movements before we even put them into a group class.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that they're they're moving to a degree that we're confident that they can get through a scaled version of the workout before we just throw them into the fire.
Yeah.
So there's great CrossFit gyms, there's great CrossFit coaches.
I would say, I suppose I'm going off only the knowledge of the gyms that I've personally gone and looked through, but I would say most CrossFit gyms are not doing that. They're not taking people through 4 1-hour-long blocks of understanding. Okay, this is a clean. Here's where we're going to start. We're going to start from the shin to the knees, and then we're going to work on. It's welcome to CrossFit.
I would hope that there's more than there isn't nowadays, just because the free market has weeded out the worst gyms, but that they're still out there. They're still popping up, and there's still uneducated consumers who don't know the difference, and maybe haven't experienced other gyms. But even in a good gym, back to kind of my starting point on this whole topic was, there would be times when I'd be frustrated because there was someone that I was working with, who they're dealing with a back injury for whatever reason. And then they come in and the workout of the day is burpees and deadlifts, right? It's, that's the workout of the day. And so now me as a coach, I'm trying to help them get through that workout as best as I can and modify it as needed, instead of just being able to give them what I really think they need, which is not going to be that at that time. Yeah. And so you're stuck.
That would be frustrating.
And
that'd be very frustrating.
Yeah. And so that, that's just comes back to the benefit of
what do you tell them?
Hey,
just do this.
Part of the great thing about CrossFit and why people do see those, especially early results, like you mentioned, is the group atmosphere just adds an element to training that it's hard to duplicate, and so no one's going to say, hey man, I really don't think you should do this workout today. Why don't you go do some bird dogs in the corner instead of deadlifting? It's no way. I'm going to deadlift with everybody else,
At that weight.
Yeah, exactly. And then everyone's going to say, come on, you can do it. And they're fired up and the music's going. I'm going to try to PR. And then I just, blew a disc out. So that kind of stuff happens. And so, CrossFit has done an awesome job culturally at making strength training much more mainstream,
getting people off the bench,
making it much more accessible for women to see what strong women look like and perform who like to lift weights, and that has changed, I think, body image stereotypes, 100%. Just an idea of what
strong is in, strong is sexy. For the I hope you're listening.
The women are twice as impressive to me in CrossFit than the guys.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Especially having worked so closely with the league, and I've never really been. I don't know that I'd say I've never really been all that impressed with the guys in CrossFit. I am impressed that they can do that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's nothing beyond what I've seen, Terrell Suggs do or James Harrison do.
You haven't seen a lot of chicks do what the CrossFit girls are doing.
You haven't seen a lot of chicks what the CrossFit do. That's exactly right.
It's impressive.
Those girls, some of the most elite female athletes in the world are doing CrossFit. Yeah, I would say. Yeah. It's hard to argue with that. Those girls are crazy.
I would say growth that we've seen in other strength disciplines like Olympic lifting, powerlifting, strongman is largely due to CrossFit. A lot of people like myself entered a CrossFit gym and then found weightlifting or found powerlifting, found strongman, and I think that it's really rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. I think CrossFit was a big impetus for the growth in a lot of that stuff, as well as just teaching people, to do these kind of core movements, which are great: squatting, deadlifting, cleaning, snatching. How to press, how to pull properly, all these things that a lot of people have learned and been exposed to that they wouldn't have been exposed to outside of CrossFit. So it has some awesome benefits, and I think it can be done safely, in a great coaching environment. It can be really fun. People can do it for a long time. Is it what I do in my gym? No. So I don't think it's the most optimal form of training. No. But it's better than doing nothing, and it's better than doing a lot of other things,
I would say class environments in general are not the most optimal form of training.
Yeah.
The most optimal form of training is you and a trainer.
That's always.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that's just, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best people in the world do not train in a class.
No.
Even with each other. They just don't.
No.
Speaking of things that have been popping up, we mentioned this briefly. I don't think we were live or talking at all, but garage gyms.
Oh, huge.
Garage gyms. And I think...
Shout out to Coop.
Yeah. Coop. that guy, he's an interesting guy. I mean, I love what he's doing. I think he's got a great company going and everything. He is funny. Yeah, he's a funny dude. He's a character.
Yeah.
He's built himself around his personality, which I love, because I feel like I'm guilty. I do that a little bit too. I think that COVID has certainly helped it. I don't know that it's what caused the initial surge. I feel like we were seeing garage gyms more even before COVID hit.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
They were definitely seeing, because a lot of the bigger companies, I think, because you had Rogue that started out kind of in CrossFit, really.
Right.
And then kind of...
Think how far they've come.
Oh, they're the biggest equipment manufacturer in the world, I'm pretty sure.
It's insane. Because like you said, for a while, it was like, okay, if I want bumper plates, I'll go to Rogue. Right. But I'm not going to Rogue for a machine. Right. I'm not going to Rogue for dumbbells. I'm not going to Rogue. There was so much they left on the table.
Right.
Their R&D team has changed all of that.
So what you saw, I think, is you saw guys like Rogue who were more in the warehousey space, garage gym space, branch more into more commercial stuff, like doing bigger weight rooms, doing machines, doing, dumbbells, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you saw other guys who were more in the commercial game start to see this huge market in garage gyms.
Yeah.
Elite, Sornex, other companies like that start to make a little more budget friendly, a little more garage gym friendly stuff. And now you see this convergence where like all the companies are realizing that this is a huge market.
100%.
There's a ton of competition, breeding innovation, and you're getting all these super cool products. And then the level of garage gym is just getting raised to where it's basically just a commercial gym inside of a garage.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's no longer a wooden box and like a squat rack.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not. Some of us get a bit compulsive.
Yeah.
It's been. I mean, I'd say honestly, it's been the most enjoying thing I've ever done in my life.
It's super satisfying.
Been putting it together.
If I never trained another client in my life, I would keep my
keep
entire
it.
garage.
Oh,
gym.
absolutely.
No question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, happy place.
It is your happy place, and if you can get to the point, and you never want to be the person who just bought their way into the industry. And you and I have both made it a very, very sincere point to make sure that our education, our time spent with mentors, our time in certification, all that stuff is in check. But if you can get to the place where you can make your passion your business and do it I honestly would not do this differently. I get asked, I'm not going to say frequently, but I've been asked several times, why don't you do a gym? Hey, I want to do a gym. Will you do it? And it's not...
As far as design their
gym. Do a gym, take Strict Vision and go to the public with it. It's... right now, there's no way in hell I would ever do it given the environment of what's happening. For a minimum of 4 years, I'm going nowhere. Like, not a chance. But if this was a different society we were living in, I might consider it. But I don't even think I would do it then. I see this kind of training as the future. Yeah. I see the elites going to private facilities, which they have in the past. I find that, like you said, with the emergence of new equipment coming out from Elite, from Rogue, from Kabuki, from all those great, great companies that make garage gym small. I don't know if you saw the single leg hamstring attachment over in the corner that just...
This one right here.
That one right there.
I was wondering what it was. Is it for the hamstring?
No, it attaches to the rack.
Oh.
So the hamstring, it attaches to the rack.
Loaded?
You can do, plate loaded. That's from Elite. They just came out with that. But that's a perfect example. They're seeing that people want to get the heck out of corporate gyms.
Oh yeah.
They do not like going to LA Fitness. They don't want to go to Lifetime. They want to come somewhere like this. Yeah. And if they can't find a place like this, they're going to end up in a TI Fitness or a CrossFit gym or somewhere where it's not. They don't want a country club feel. At least not. It seems like it's shifting that way.
Yeah.
And the market for equipment has allowed guys like us to start from the bottom. Now we're here, kind of thing. And I think it's great, and you've made amazing strides in 1 year. I didn't know that was only 1 year in for you. That's outstanding. And
Yeah, and you know, I trained in garages before I, you know, opened the garage gym. Like I had just a very bare bones setup in Dallas when I lived there, and that's when I trained. You know, I was at a couple, you know, I would train at the gym I worked at sometimes, and there was another gym when I first moved before we were in a house that I was training at. But as soon as I could set up in the garage, that's what I did, and that's what I did most of my training, because there's just nothing like it. Like the convenience obviously is a factor, but then just the freedom to do whatever music you want, you know, whenever you want to train, early, late, whatever you want to wear, shirts off, doesn't matter, sweating all over the place, no one's yelling at you, chalk all over the place.
All training Crocs, everyone knows it.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's very freeing, you know, and it's to not be answering to anybody with your training. And
100%.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I wanted to make a point of saying during this podcast, you know, one of the biggest benefits I've found for doing it in a garage setting, if you want to merge into online sales, online subscriptions, online training of any kind, or content creation, if you have the ability to create your brand and make it your own in a way that is fun, and it just, doing it in your own garage, again, allows you the freedom to do it any way you want. You can reinvent yourself a dozen times if that's what you need to do, and we did. And seeing now what, Eli was on the podcast, we were talking about this in the last episode, seeing what the partnership with him is bringing and how things are changing and how social media really is the bread and butter for us, it always will be. Pushing more and more and more into content creation in your own facility is huge for expansion, because you and I don't have a banner out in front of a mall. People don't just see us. They have to hear about us, and the best way to do that is through social media. Having your own garage or having your own facility that you have entire, you know, unilateral control over allows you to get every single detail how you want it.
Yeah.
And that's one other thing that I've really enjoyed.
Well, the great aspect too of having it in the garage versus even in your own facility is just the flexibility that super low overhead gives you.
Yeah.
You know, to do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, me starting out, like I didn't do obviously nearly as much of all of this marketing stuff. You're a lot ahead of me in that department, but
I'm years ahead of you.
Right, but
I'm 6.5 years in.
But the great fact that I was able to just like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna kind of do word of mouth to start. I'm just gonna focus on the person in front of me. You know, like the first person I'm gonna train, I'm just gonna do a really good job training them. They're gonna tell somebody, I'm gonna try to do a really good job training them, and just grow slowly like that without the pressure of, oh man, I got $3,000 a month rent that I've got to make. Like I need 20 clients now.
I gotta get these clients. You know? I gotta get this class going now.
Right.
And it also, it not only, you know, forces you to get classes going and do, you know, maybe compromise your.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say not your, but compromise your strategy of training to get more people in, because you just got to. It also limits your ability to buy new equipment. Buy good equipment. Okay, I can't afford, you know, the $1,200 bar. I'll settle for the $500 bar because I've got the overhead. My overhead for the last, and it's crazy because I tell everybody, I didn't make any money for 6 years.
Because I bought your equipment.
Because I bought all this equipment. Dude, my accountant's explain to me how this works. I'm like, I feel like I should show you how it works. But sincerely, for 5.5 to 6 years, this was not profitable. Made no money. Just because it was all the overhead, and it's how I saw it.
It's reinvesting.
Nobody really believes me, but I really did have this in sort of a plan. I knew that I was going to need, because I started this before the emergence of this garage gym, you know, fad we see now. I knew that I had to do something to stand out. I had to stand out away from LA Fitness, away from Lifetime. I had to be bigger in a different way. I had to give things they didn't. And in order to do that, you got to spend a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Over a bit of time.
Yeah.
And that's, if I could go back, I would. You are already off to a much better start than I was in the 1 year that you're doing this. I didn't have a lot of this equipment didn't exist back when I started, And furthermore, I just didn't really have any direction. I kind of just started buying things.
Well, you know, one of the other things I found that's great about starting smaller and starting that garage setting is I think it makes you a better trainer because you're forced to be more thoughtful and creative, like with your programming, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I have a set of bands and a barbell,
yeah,
you know, I got to figure out how to make it happen with that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I was training in Dallas, that's what I had. I had the Bowflex dumbbells, the little twist side.
Yeah.
I had those. They go to 50, right?
Sure.
I had like a couple bands from Elite FTS. I had a straight bar, a squat rack with a pull-up bar on it, and like the Bowflex adjustable bench. And you know, I made great gains in like my deadlift and my bench on that setup. You know, and doing a lot of stuff with the bands, like getting creative. And so it's great to have to be forced to be creative, and then when you've earned the right almost to get that extra equipment and then use it, it's like it's not like you just started out with this day one. Mm-hmm. You gotta kind of like cut your teeth, I feel like, and work your way up there. So, you know, even if I could buy more equipment, it's like, you know, I think this is like a good place to start.
Yeah.
And then when I see a need for a new piece, or, you know, I think the gym, like I recently redid the floors and, you know, painted the walls and stuff. It's like, I feel like it's time to put a little more professional touch on it, you know, and then those steps can kind of happen naturally.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, build it and they will come, and, you know, sometimes they don't come, you know,
you
got to prove it first, you know, so.
And it's funny, someone asked me, I don't remember the context of the question, but it was something along the lines of, you know, how has training changed for you? I think it was a TikTok question or something. Training for me today is 10 times easier than it was when I first got started.
Training people.
Training anyone.
Yeah.
In part because of the schooling, in part because of just trial and error and time spent, but also because where I sit today, I could throw a rock in here and just get a new exercise and create something new. Having built up all of these toys, and you mentioned the word need. I feel like I haven't needed anything for a while. I just continue to want, but that's beside the point. I now, as it sits, can write any program for anyone, and I don't really need to think all that hard because there's so much available, and it's impossible to use all this stuff in one, really, I think even in 1 year. Like, to use everything in here in a program would be a stretch.
Yeah.
And having that allows anybody to reach a bigger audience. A carpenter is only as good as his tools, and that really does change the more you reinvest back into yourself if you are training people, especially in a private environment.
Yeah, I think one advantage to having a variety of tools is the ability to cater, you know, very specifically to what a person needs. You know, something that, you know, I've had to learn, and, you know, circling back to the CrossFit thing, is you're doing like their foundational, you know, there's only so many movements that go on in a CrossFit gym. You know? And so you're having to teach and apply those to a wide variety of people. And when you're in your own setting, like me, I use a wider variety of movements, but I'm still not using near the variety of equipment and movements that you're probably using in here. I don't have access to them. I couldn't use them if I want to, but it helps me think through as a coach, like, you know, again, going back to asking those questions about the program, like, what does this person need? Mm-hmm. Like, how am I progressing towards that? And then what tools do I have at my disposal to be able to, like, meet those goals? Yeah. You know, and it doesn't take all of this, although it's nice to have, you know, it doesn't take all that to do that effectively. You know, like, guys have gotten really strong with, like, a platform and a barbell.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
guys get jacked in prison. How's that
exactly.
It's like nothing out there.
It's like maybe effort and consistency might have a little something to do with that.
Might be. You know, I get strong or I get strung up in the bathroom. Yeah, I'm going to lift a lot of weights, whatever I can find.
Yeah.
I can't go to prison. Yeah. Yeah, man. This is really cool though, because I think that you and I in this setting, there are so many. This has been an entirely unstructured conversation.
Yeah.
I want to do this in a way that you and I, sincerely, I think once a month, if we can. I would love to get down, have bullet points. You know, I'm going to start
questions,
asking people. We get questions all the time through our social media marketing. I want to address those questions here.
Yeah.
I think you and I have a lot to offer on the knowledge side of things. I think there's a lot of people out there that want to know how to do this, both how to build a garage gym, which we've both done, and how to train people or get trained and just get more knowledge as a layman. But any of those topics, you and I can definitely have a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
And I think that, I think this is something that we I think we owe this to people.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I've loved podcasts for a long time.
I've never been on one.
I've never been on one either, but I've loved consuming them for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I that's one of the primary ways in which when I spoke about that time, like when I was in college and those early kind of business jobs in which I was more focused on learning how to train than probably I was on my job, and I was like, there's probably something wrong with this. Podcasts were a big part of that. There's just it's so incredible.
Anyone in particular?
A big one for me, starting out, you're probably familiar with Joe DeFranco.
I am.
Yeah, so he's got the Industrial Strength Show, and he's been running that for, it's got to be like 5 years now, probably at least.
Oh, very cool.
And a ton of great information on there. I mean, we've talked before about Elite FTS, their table talks.
I listen to Mark Bell's, by the way. It's outstanding.
Yeah, Mark Bell's Powercast is great. Elite FTS table talks are great with Dave Tate. Westside Barbell has a podcast.
They don't do a lot of them, though.
They don't do them. I mean, it's trying to get Louis to do a podcast.
I know. They got, you know what they have? Okay, we could probably talk for 6 hours. Yeah. Have you dug in at all to the Kabuki strength stuff?
Oh, Kabuki's outstanding.
It is. Yeah. I'm saying, but the thing we bought.
Oh, yeah.
You watched it all?
Yeah.
I watched like half an episode. Yeah. I'll be honest, the schooling is taking all my time.
Right.
The masters. I'm like, okay. I want to watch this. I just can't. I don't have time.
All my free time, it's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we were talking about the other day, the nice thing, I think the great thing about being at the point we're at now and then going back and doing the master's degree is that we can filter the information so much easier because I've been training people for 5 years. I can see that this is going to be really useful for me and this I'm never going to use. Yeah. And so you can learn it to know the information, but you're not going to apply it in the same way.
Exercise physiology, we're going over like metabolic rate, and I'm like, okay, this isn't really, and then we have VO2 max. I'm like, actually, I really wanted to know about this. I wanted to know more about this, and that's a perfect example. You're right.
And if you didn't have the experience actually doing the job, you'd be taking the classes and having no idea
I'm either going to try to obsess and memorize all of this, or I'm going to totally just get through it and not memorize any of it. But doing, like you said, having actual people that you're working with, okay, this hasn't ever come up in 6 years I've done this. This comes up all the time. Right. I need to know this.
And it's really cool when something does come up that you were going through in the course and you're like, this is why I'm doing this. Like I had a client last week who was having some like knee pain, like lateral knee pain, like it was kind of like IT band syndrome-ish kind of thing. And I had been just doing like a knee module in my corrective exercise course. I'm like, okay, well, do this. Yeah. And then they come back a week later like, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm like, that's awesome. That's why it's worth it, to me, besides having the credentials of, having the master's degree. Yeah. I want to be able to apply it. That's ideally the end goal is to make you a better trainer, right?
100%. Seeing client improvement is, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of a high. It's kind of I mean, it's the thing I think I crave the most are the transformations these days. Like when I see somebody who, having worked with all different demographics throughout my time, dealing with, I've trained high level, mid, older people, it doesn't matter. Dealing with somebody who's gonna make an improvement of like 1%, like a high-level athlete, or dealing with somebody who's going to make a 25% change, somebody who's really out of shape, whatever, diabetic, doesn't matter. These days, I love the latter. I love people who have a long way to go. Yeah. I find that it's more of a challenge. Training high-level athletics is an entirely different feel. It's like they most likely have a pretty good understanding of what they're supposed to be doing already. They are an NFL athlete.
They might not even want to be there.
They don't want to be there. How
it's like, I'm just doing this because I have to.
Sometimes they hate it. It's actually kind of funny. And some of them have absolutely no continued desire to do that after they're done. The fat athlete syndrome is just rampant among those guys.
Not too many James Harrisons out there.
No, that guy, special James Harrison, man, that guy is special. That guy's special for a lot of different reasons. I don't think I've ever seen a person as strong as him. And I know they're out there. I've seen, Brian Shaw and all those strongmen.
In person,
stuff.
no.
But in person, no. I've never seen anybody's, and none of them are as scary as he is either. That's the thing about football. It's different than anything. It's different than strongman. If you're a football player and first of all, if you're a football player, as long as he is in the position he was, you can be mean.
Well, if you're an NFL football player who's feared among other NFL football players for how hard you hit and how mean you are, that's saying something. Because everyone's pretty tough.
I don't know. Again, I can only speak from personal experience, but I don't know if that guy has an off switch, because that guy came in. Now, granted, I understand I'm in a gym. He's coming to train, so he's kind of got it turned on already. But every single time I saw him, it felt like he was at 11. Like he was never chill. He was never just kind of. Most of those guys were. Ryan Clark, T. Suggs was hysterical, but that guy was just. Playoff mentality. This is the Super Bowl right here, right now. Let's go. This is set one, and I'm ready to kill someone. But you gotta respect his discipline. Even now, he's not playing, and he still dips. You ever see him dip?
Oh man, what was he doing? 5 plates?
5, 6 plates. Yeah. The belt broke. Did you see that video? The belt broke.
Yeah, crazy, man.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but like you were saying, man, I think it is really cool to work with like a broad range of people. People ask me the same thing, like, ideally, what would you want to do? Like work with pro athletes or something like that? And it keeps it interesting. If you're doing 6, 7, 8 sessions in a day, and you're getting to see like some older adult who's you're doing very basic movements with, but you're seeing a huge increase in quality of life because their back doesn't hurt, or they're able to lift something off the ground in their garden and carry it around. And then you're also seeing, like, I recently started training a younger guy. He's like 19 years old. He's pretty athletic, never really trained. It's just like a blank slate. I'm just like, this is going to be so fun, dude. You're going to get jacked. It's going to be great. Like,
oh, that's cool.
You know what I mean?
So like, he has no knowledge,
training, never played basketball, football, barely was in the weight room.
Never went in the weight room.
But he's hardworking, really like eager to get after, and it's like, this is perfect.
I love that. There's nothing better than someone who's hardworking with no knowledge.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to change all those bad habits.
Yeah, and then you're just going back to like your own journey, right? And I think part of what makes a trainer a good trainer is having to figure a lot of stuff out themselves. Like, this stuff didn't work, this stuff did work, but then you get someone like that and like, here's everything I would have done if I was 19 and not done the stupid stuff. And it's like, oh man, I can't even wait to see the progress.
Full of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And then out of the weight room.
Fronts, so.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Well, this was awesome,
dude,
Chris. This was a really cool. You like this? This is a cool forum.
It's awesome.
I think we could do guest podcasts together. I think we got a guest in here. It would be a really cool. I know Jake wants to join. He couldn't come tonight. I don't remember why, but we need to do this more often. This was an awesome episode. It was the start of something dope.
Yep. Go on for hours.
Yeah. Sincerely, that's why I got to stop this, because I know we could just keep going.
I got a 6 a.m. client, bro.
We're gonna, and if you want to talk about some bullet points, prepare some bullet points. We can talk about 3 topics for 40, 45 minutes without stopping, for sure. We can just go bullet point by bullet point. Awesome, man. Cool stuff.
Oh, long table.
I know, it's actually that's the first time I've ever tried to do that with somebody. That is difficult. But yeah, we'll cut it there.
Sweet, bro. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. If you guys like our content and you want to see more of it, click the subscribe button down below, or as always, you can follow us on any of our other social media platforms. Stay fit, you guys, stay healthy, and become the 1%.